As Marta's hands close around the seal pup, a massive shape burst from the waves beside her, its eyes fixed on hers. For an instant, she was sure she'd be dragged under, but instead, the creature shielded her from the torrent, its body a living barrier. And as the storm raged on, Marta began a desperate ascent. The pup clutched to her chest, the sea clawing at her heels, with a mysterious ally guiding her to safety and a debt from the past waiting to be revealed. The storm's aftermath left an unsettling stillness, the only sound the faint lapping of waves against the rock. Marta sat by the fire, the seal pup now sleeping fitfully in a basket lined with old sweaters. She stared into the flames, her mind replaying the events of the day, the desperate climb down, the sudden appearance of the massive seal, and the debt it seemed to have repaid. Her thoughts drifted back to that summer, years ago, when she'd freed the tangled seal from the fishing net. A shiver ran down her spine as she recalled the notch on the mother seal's flipper, the same mark she'd cut into the flipper of the seal she'd saved all those years ago. The fire crackled, and Marta's gaze fell upon a small, leather-bound book on the shelf beside her. It was an old journal, one she'd kept as a girl, filled with stories of her time on the rock and the creatures that lived in the sea below. She opened it, blowing off the dust, and began to read. The entries were faded, but one date in particular caught her eye, the day she'd freed the seal. And as she read the words she'd written so many years ago, a faint memory stirred, one that made her look up toward the window and the sea beyond. The mother seal was out there, watching, waiting, and Marta felt an inexplicable sense of wonder and trepidation as she realized that their story was far from over. As Marta delved deeper into the journal, the words on the pages began to transport her back to that summer of her youth. She remembered the feel of the warm sun on her skin, the smell of the salt water, and the sound of the gulls crying overhead. The memory of the seal, tangled in the fishing net, came flooding back, and with it, the sense of pride and purpose she'd felt as she carefully cut away the ropes, freeing the creature back into the wild. The notch she'd cut into its flipper, a small mark to identify it, had been a symbol of their connection, a bond between them. And now, as she gazed out the window, she wondered if the mother seal's appearance was more than just a coincidence. The storm may have passed, but the questions it had raised lingered, like the sea mist that still clung to the rocks. Marta's eyes narrowed, her mind working to unravel the mystery. She thought back to the countless nights she'd spent scanning the horizon, searching for a glimpse of the creatures that lived in the depths below. And then it hit her, a realization that made her heart skip a beat. The mother seal's visit wasn't just about repaying a debt. It was about something more, something that had been hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. Marta's gaze fell upon the journal once more, and she knew she had to keep reading, to keep searching for the truth. For in the pages of her past, she might just find the key to understanding the present and the secrets that the sea still held. Marta continued to turn the fragile pages, the stories of her younger self, a flickering beacon in the encroaching gloom. The lantern's dim light cast long, dancing shadows, mimicking the restless churn of the sea beyond the thick walls. The storm, though seemingly past, had left a raw, vibrating hum in the air, a tension that settled deep in her bones. She glanced at the sleeping pup, its tiny chest rising and falling, a fragile life entrusted to her, now safe. A sudden, jarring thud echoed from the lantern room above, followed by a metallic groan that made her heart seize. The steady, comforting sweep of the light that pierced the twilight outside suddenly faltered, skipping a beat, then another. Marta's breath caught. The very heartbeat of the rock, the rhythmic pulse guiding mariners through the blackness, was failing. She scrambled up the winding iron staircase, 2 steps at a time, her boots clanging against the cold metal, a knot of dread tightening in her stomach. The air in the lantern room was thick with the acrid smell of ozone and overheated machinery. The colossal lens, usually a flawless eye, now pulsed erratically, casting wild, distorted shafts of light across the churning waves. A crucial component, a delicate filament, lay snapped and charred. "No," she whispered, her voice a raw rasp against the rising shriek of the wind. She knew the spare parts kit was miles away on the mainland, inaccessible. Desperation clawed at her throat, cold and sharp. Without the light, the rock was a silent predator. Any vessel caught unaware would be lost. She pressed her palm against the warm, dying glass, her mind racing. How could she possibly mend this, alone, with the storm still grumbling on the horizon? Through the glass, a dark shape broke the surface, its massive form silhouetted against the erratic gleam. The mother seal, her deep, knowing eyes fixed on the tower, not just watching, but communicating with an urgency Marta felt in her core. A guttural call, deep and resonant, seemed to reverberate through the very stone. It wasn't distress, but a dire warning. And then, a faint, distant horn, barely audible over the gale, cut through the night. A fishing trawler, unknowingly heading straight for the unseen danger. This ancient bond wasn't a simple exchange. It was a shared vigil, a silent promise echoing across generations. As Marta gazed out at the mother seal, a sense of understanding washed over her. The seal's warning call still echoed in her mind, a dire alert that had stirred something deep within her. She knew she had to act, to find a way to repair the light and warn the approaching trawler of the danger that lay ahead. The mother seal, sensing her resolve, slid silently back into the darkness, leaving Marta to face the challenge alone. With a newfound sense of determination, Marta set to work, scouring the tower for any materials that might aid her in the repair. The storm may have passed, but its legacy remained, a potent reminder of the power and fury that lay just beyond the rock's fragile shores. As she worked, the seal pup, now awake, watched her with large, round eyes, as if sensing the weight of the task that lay before them. Marta's hands moved with a newfound sense of purpose, driven by a deep connection to the sea and its creatures, a bond that had been forged in the fire of that long-ago summer, and tempered by the trials of the present. The light, though faltering, still cast its beam out into the darkness, a beacon of hope in a world fraught with peril. And Marta, her heart filled with a sense of wonder and trepidation, stood tall, a guardian of the rock, a keeper of the light, and a debtor to the sea. The darkness closed in around her, but she stood firm, a shining thread of resolve in the vast and mysterious tapestry of the ocean. The trawler's horn sounded again, closer now, and Marta's hands moved with renewed urgency, driven by the knowledge that she was not alone, that the mother seal and the sea itself stood with her, a silent and unshakable ally in the face of the unknown. As the light stays lit, Marta's story comes full circle. We're grateful you joined us on this journey. If you'd like to hear more tales from the edge of the sea, subscribe to our channel. Have you ever experienced a moment of unexpected kindness from nature, like Marta's encounter with the mother seal?